We're back at it. It is what it is, as always. There's nothing we can do. Absolutely nothing. Let me open up my chat again. Okay. So, we kind of have a problem with this impulse class. We cannot pass in like null values, and I don't know what is a good way to pass in default values for these. I mean, since every object, every entity, every object that has this impulse class attached to it has an impulse component will have different default values, different default values. But there must be a way. You could just go to the entity and add an impulse parameter to it, and then we could just simply yeah, we could do that. We could have the entity like require an impulse class. Well, not require, but you have the option to have an impulse class. The problem is it's not exactly a property of an entity. That's the problem. Impulsing doesn't seem like something that would fit inside of an entity. Like, not every entity needs to have an impulse class. That's the problem. When my buttons are untied or loose. Just simply make an impulse class and create a new instance every time I need to impulse some object. But the problem is these have coroutines, these have I enumerators, and you cannot create, and these come from mono behavior. And you cannot create new instances. You cannot create new instances from mono behavior. You have to write instantiate, which is not exactly good. I could have two. The problem with the dash attack state is it needs to be decoupled. I mean, it should be modular as much as possible. It should be always modular. So, well, whichever target, the target needs to be an entity, and yeah, the target must be an entity. So it's either it must be something done to the entity class so that we be able to damage, to impulse the object. Hmm. We could we could have an impulse for every entity. I mean, there's really nothing stopping me from doing this except the like, commonly an entity should not have like in general. But what if in my game I needed every single class to have an impulse attribute? You know what? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna give every entity an impulse attribute. Hold on. Let me think about this. Why does the entity itself needs to have default values? Shouldn't impulse the values come from the object that is impulsing? No, I can't think of. Hold on. Like yeah, the so let's say the enemy. The enemy is the one that is applying the impulse on the. Well, it's initiating the impulse from to the player, but the logic needs to be applied on the player object. And for that to work, it needs a, an enumerator that persists with the lifetime of the object, of the player object. Session is done. Let me just continue. So I cannot. Huh. Hmm. Big thunk, big thunk. You know what? I'm probably thinking about this way too much. I'm still prototyping anyways. I'm giving this way too much thought. And there's really no need for me to do that. So let's just... We'll just restore the impulse class to the way it was before, and just simply go to the entity. Actually, oh wait, never mind. Yeah, just remove the impulse. Make impulse. Hold on. Yep. Serialized field. Protected. Impulse. Yeah, I'm really giving too much thought into this, and it doesn't deserve it. Public impulse. It's so funny. Public impulse gives returns impulse. Anyway. Oh, by the way, let me just check if like this. Okay, it works. And yeah, and we just we don't really need any of this because impulsing is not exactly something related to damage as well, so we can't really do that. So we just need to make target.damage and just let me restore the impulse function. Yeah, impulse target, then target dot impulse object dot direction. And yeah, that does solve our problem. We could still, yeah, we could still have actually the, hold on, still have the struct for the values. Yeah, we could still have the struct for the values, and what we could do instead is just have two different functions. One which takes all the parameters. Oh, actually, we don't actually need to do that, and we don't need actually to make two functions. We could just create the struct. And pass in the values of the struct into force multiplier, float, speed multiplier. Yeah, this actually cannot be known. So gas now. Then we could go to the attack state and give it serialized the impulse values called impulse values parameter. I think I need to make it serializable. I'm not sure. Like the struct serializable for the values to show up, but who knows? We'll see in a bit. Actually, let's make it even more easy. Okay. Giving it another function which just passes in the impulse values struct, and let's call it values. Just simplicity value. Drop off speeds. Well, actually, we don't need any of these anymore because we can just go here, values, drop off. And this where this values dot speed multiplier and values dot direction. What was this? Force values dot force multiplier. And actually, the direction still needs to be something on its own because we cannot set this in the inspector. Just give me the direction instead. And just remove this from here. And if we want it, so the default values, if we wanted the default values, we can just take them directly from the impulse object. So public float force, public float force, drop off multiplier. Speed multiplier. Okay, so now instead we could just go ahead and into the attack state and in the impulse target function method, we just impulse object the direction. Oh. Okay. Impulse object the direction and give it the impulse values. This way, we could have a custom. Yeah, we could have custom impulse values for different attacks instead of taking the default values. So if I go into the enemy prefab, the dasher, and if I go to the attack state, I do not have actually. Hold on. Damage area size. Okay, so I guess it needs to be serializable for it to show up. Serializable. And hopefully now it should show up in the inspector. The name is serialized multiple times in the class for its parents. This is not supposed. Oh, so just I don't know, make it public. I mean, it's supposedly I could do serialized field and serializable. Public and false work. Okay, let me make it public. I mean, if it was a normal class, I don't. This should supposedly this should work, but I've not tried this before on a struct. Again? Oh no, never mind. Yep, here it is. But why can't I? I need to make it private. I don't want it to be public. Okay, it's working fine, but what is this error, though? I'm not sure. Let me get the header space here. About values. And actually, let's go into the class itself and give these the same default values that we have in here. So 1.KK. So let's just give it 200 force and drop off fast 1.5 and take like 3. Okay. Cannot have instance. Oh, okay. You cannot do that actually. You have to make a struct for it. Okay, so let's just make another struct. Okay, cool. Cool. Structs cannot contain explicit parameters constructors. What? Can't I make this? Can't I do this in the struct? Do I really need to make it a class? Okay, let me Google this. Cannot contain explicit parameters. Oh, parameterless. Okay, oh. So structs cannot have these kind of constructors? So how do I give a struct default values if I wanted to? Sorry, I never used structs before. I always like made classes instead of structs. But in our case, like a struct is a perfect thing to use. How to give default values to a struct. So I guess playing default values for struct in let's see, sure. Define a custom default constructor for structs in C#. The compiler automatically provides the default constructor. except for inheriting from interfaces. Okay, so I guess I have to make it a class if I need to give them default values. Yeah, I just need to use a class. Well, class. Guess I'm never gonna use constructs in my life. They're really situational. 100F, 1.1F, and 3.5F. And yeah. What was I doing? Oh, I just was giving them default values. Okay. Base player impulse. Oh. Oh. The same field name is serialized multiple times. Oh, okay, that's okay. So if I go to the player, where's the player? Okay, I'm in here. I completely forget about this. Since impulse is now a property of every entity, and I had it only for the player. It's removed. What? Why is still giving me that? 200. I guess it's not initialized because it was already here. 0.1F. Speed multiplier. What was it called? Okay. I zoned out. What? What happened here? Why can I? Oh, I'm putting F. Okay. Okay. Sorry, my bad, my bad. Okay. So if I go in here, actually, let me give it some. Oh, actually, in here, if I go into the state, like, and make it something bigger than the default, just something like 500. Actually, that's too much. 300. So we could know it's overwriting the default value. Holy shit. Alright. Yeah, that's another bug. Sometimes it just keeps on going. Yeah, like that. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. Also, I do keep getting impulsed, so we do need to fix that. Alright, so far we just cleaned a little bit of the impulse, like how we do impulse a object, and that's the problem. Okay, that's the problem. So what if I want the player to not be impulsed if he's in recovery? That's the problem. Okay. Oh, okay. So not every entity has recovery, like a stat for recovery. So only the player is in recovery mode has a recovery option, like parameter. There's so many words to describe property, attribute as well. So where is it? Where is it? Player is in recovery. So the problem is this is a property of the player and not the entity. And only the player, I'm pretty sure, is gonna be in recovery. Maybe. I don't know if the bosses can have a recovery mode. And I mean the recovery is when the player starts splashing and doesn't take any more damage. Well, we could actually have it. So maybe later on in the game, you play as an enemy type or something, and this would allow us to like have a recovery on the enemy as well. But yes, either way, this is still a prototype, so I don't really give a shit about being clean in my code that much. Okay. So we just need to add it in here and just make this a get that property. And can I move the recovery function? There a recovery? Okay. It's in recovery. It should be. All right. We do have a separate function for it. We could, if we wanted, yeah. This is already an attribute in the entity class. We could just add another function for recovery, and we just move this from over here, entity, and we'll just add it. I don't know why, but I like to keep the die function the last one in the class for some reason. Okay. I don't have. No, I do. I think I'm not using system collections. Let's just give it the time in here. Float time. And I'm not gonna make it a parameter inside the entity class because what if some entity doesn't have a recovery? So you just come here and give it the time that you want it. Recovery time. This should be. mm, let's give it a public getter for every time. Now, we should not be getting impulsed after getting damaged once. Oh, hold on. I messed up. Uh, oh wait, if if it's not in recovery, impulse. Oh, okay. So because we're calling damage first, it is in recovery. The in recovery property becomes true. So we need to impulse before.